Hi there, I'm Rachel Clift. In the poetry world, I am known as R. Clift or the Constellation Poet. I am speaking to you from Knoxville, Tennessee in the United States. I primarily write poetry, creative nonfiction, and memoir. I have been writing in the way that I do now since 2017, but I've been telling stories and finding metaphors my entire life. Since 2019, I have published 6 of my own poetry books, a guided poetry journal, and an anthology with IngramSpark. I tend to write poetry books around a lot of different themes. I have spin-off books, I have series, I'm releasing books and working on books all the time. I currently have around 4 works in progress and probably over a dozen future books planned. So being a graphic designer, a book designer, it makes me a little different because I design my own books, I design my own covers, and I do the same for other authors. I design their book covers and the interiors, and I walk them through the entire process of self-publishing to make it easy and make it fun. There is a huge demand for self-publishing for the poetry community, especially because poetry books, I think, are a little different, and poetry itself is a little different, and it's so close and tied to a poet's soul. Their own poems are a breath of their life, and to be able to have that control over how the book looks, how it feels, and everything to do with the publishing process is something that we really value. Something that makes me unique as an author, probably my definition of poetry, as I think poetry is more of a way of life or even a condition than it is just writing lines on paper. Anyone can be a poet at any time. You don't even have to be writing to be a poet. Poetry is in everything. It's the lifelong search for meaning and discovery and looking for the extraordinary and the ordinary and capturing tiny moments to make a string of little memories that become our lives. My biggest accomplishment as an author would have to be the connections that I've made through writing and sharing my poetry. It was completely unexpected. I had no idea the impact a poem could have on someone, and that's only grown as the years have gone by, and the more devoted my readers are to me, the more responsibility I feel and devotion that I feel towards them. My very first book is called To Feel Anything at All, and it was originally published in 2019, and it is a part of my Evolved Poetry collection. There are 2 more books that follow this, and there's one in the making currently. The second book's title is called To Be Remembered, and the third is Tomorrow Will Be Kinder. This book really brought me into the poet that I am today. Publishing this book changed the idea that I had of myself as a poet. What inspired this collection is my love of photography, actually. I used to be a photographer, now I'm more poet and writer and graphic designer, and I wanted to meld my 2 passions together. So I created this series called Evolved Poetry. And that is where I take a poem and I turn it into a photograph. So I took models, which were actually just my friends, out into nature, and we would read a poem, pinpoint the emotion within that poem, and try to recreate that feeling in a photograph. The collections also contain my own travel photography. I am an avid traveler. I love to travel. I think it's the best thing that one can do, and I wanted somewhere for those photos to live, so each collection has a different color scheme, a different feel, and it's based around a different season. So To Feel Anything at All is my summer collection, To Be Remembered is my autumn collection, Tomorrow Will Be Kinder is my winter collection, and my current work in progress called To Reach That One Person is my spring collection. And they're a joy to make, and they capture my life as the years go on, and I could have never seen that coming. I planned this series in 2018 and I've been working on it ever since. I knew I was going to write 4 books before anybody even knew who I was, and now it is something that so many people look forward to. Advice for other authors. I would have to say, whatever you do, keep writing. This was told to me at a typewriter exhibit in Scotland. An old man named Joe that I met We were talking about writing. He was a poet, and he said, "Rachel, whatever you do, keep writing." And I have played those words over and over and over in my head. And it has helped me keep going on days when being an artist is really tough. And also another quote that I hear in my head is from my teacher, Arthur Smith, and that is, "Your thoughts deserve a decent place to live," which has taught me to respect my words and respect my own poetry above all else, that what we say, there's a purpose for it, to respect our own voices. The only person in the world can write the poetry that I do is me, and the only person in the world that can write the poetry that you do is you. No matter what, just keep your eyes set on your North Star. And the way that I look at it, if a poem or a book or anything that I share reaches one person, then that's enough. And so what I say over and over in my head, and what inspired the title of my next book, is I'm always trying to reach that one person, because we can't reach everyone on earth. We can't help everyone on earth from feeling less alone. We can't change the whole world, but every individual has their own entire world, and if we can change that one world, then it's worth it. My last piece of advice to you is to read this book. It's very short, it's very tiny. It's called Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, and it absolutely altered my entire view on what it means to be an artist, an author, a human. And the one line that I hear over and over is, "A work of art is good if it is born from necessity, if it comes from a need." If we create from an authentic place, our art is good. And it's important not to judge your own poetry too harshly, because it's a breath of your soul, it's a breath of your life. I've found my purpose through poetry and making connections, helping other authors publish their own books, creating opportunities for travel, meeting people, answering letters, everything in between. It's all come from that first time I decided to write a poem and share it online and to keep going. Persistence is what has gotten me this far, and it is the secret ingredient to becoming a poet and becoming an author, is to keep writing, keep sharing, don't give up on your art, don't give up on yourself, and your art will not give up on you.